Isang residential building ang gumuho sa Barranquilla, Colombia.
Ating alamin kung may nakaligtas sa pagguho ng gusali mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Biyernes.
Subi Reef, isa ng anchoring hub para sa mga barko ng China ayon sa Philippine Navy.
World Health Organization iniulat na nasa 100 Pilipino ang namamatay kada araw dahil sa tuberculosis.
Panibagong arms aid package ng Estados Unidos para sa Ukraine inihahanda na.
Mahigit sa 100 katao nawawala mula sa mudslide sa Uganda.
At social media ban para sa mga menor de edad sa Australia, kasado na. Isa ng anchoring hub para sa mga barko ng China ang Subi Reef sa West Philippine Sea. Ayon po yan sa Philippine Navy.
Sinabi ni Philippine Navy spokesperson Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad na may mahigit 80 assorted Chinese ship ang namataan naman sa Pag-asa Islands. Paliwanag ni Trinidad ay isang enclosed haven ang Subi Reef na malapit sa Pag-asa Islands, gayon din ang Mischief Reef na malapit naman sa Ayungin Shoal. Git ni Trinidad, naging safe harbor ang dalawang reefs ng China at nandoon din anyang maraming concentration ng maritime militia kasama ang People's Liberation Army Navy at Chinese Coast Guard. Noong 2014, nagsagawa ang China ng reclamation project sa Subi Reef para makapagtayo sila ng isang marine harbor.
Hindi dinaluhan ni Vice President Sara Duterte ang investigasyon ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI kaugnay sa kill remark ng pangalawang Pangulo sa first couple at sa House Speaker. Sa halip ay dumating ang abogado ni VP Sara na si Attorney Paul Lim para ibigay ang sulat na pirmado ng pangalawang Pangulo. Nakasaad sa liham na hindi makakarating si VP Sara dahil kasabay ito ng hearing sa Kamara patungkol naman sa sinasabing irregularidad sa budget ng Department of Education at Office of the Vice President. Pinagbigyan naman ng NBI ang hiling na i-reschedule ang pagsipot ni Duterte kung saan ay itinakda ito sa December 11. Hiniling din ni Duterte na makahingi siya ng kopya ng mga dokumento patungkol sa investigasyon at advance na listahan ng mga posibleng tanong. Higit pa kay VP Sara ay ipatatawag din ng NBI ang iba pang mga nasa Zoom press ko ni Duterte kung saan binitawan niya ang naturang kill remark. Kabilang sa pinatatawag ay ang may-ari ng Zoom account, ilang staff ni VP Sara at ilang miyembro ng media.
Gaya ng nangyari kay Vice President Sara Duterte, posible anilang makatanggap din ng sabina mula sa National Bureau of Investigation o NBI ang ama nitong si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Matapos kasi yung kontrobersyal na kill remark ni VP Sara laban sa first couple at kay House Speaker Martin Romualdez, ay nagkaroon naman ng umano'y panawagan ng dating Pangulo na almahan ang pamumuno ni Marcos Jr. Sinabi ni Department of Justice Undersecretary Jesse Hermogenes Andres Jr. na patuloy pa ring minomonitor ng NBI ang mga sinasabi ni dating Pangulong Duterte kung kaya malaki ang posibilidad na ipatawag ito ng ahensya. Pero lahat anya ng requirements of due process ay kailangang matupad ng DOJ. Dagdag pa ni Yusek Andres, hindi mangingimi ang NBI na magsampa ng mga kaso laban sa dating Pangulo kung kinakailangan. Hindi naman tinukoy ng DOJ kung ano-anong mga reklamo ang pwedeng isampa kay Duterte, pero may ilang nagsasabi na maaaring sampahan ang kasong sedition ang dating Pangulo.
Samantala, igagalang ng Department of Justice o DOJ ang Office of the Ombudsman kung magdesisyon itong kunin ang investigasyon kay Vice President Sara Duterte dahil sa umano'y pagbabanta nito laban sa first couple at kay House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Ito mismo ang sinabi ni Justice Undersecretary Jesse Hermogenes Jr. matapos sabihin ni Ombudsman Samuel Martires na maaari nilang kunin ang investigasyon kay VP Sara kung pasok sa jurisdiksyon ng tanggapan ang umano'y paglabag sa batas ng bise.
That is their prerogative. We will respect them. Ganun pa man, sa gitna ng lahat ng nangyayari, ang DOJ po will continue to stand up for justice, national security, and the rule of law. We will stand up for justice and the rule of law.
Tiniyak din ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI na makikipagtulungan ito kung i-take over nga ng Ombudsman ang pag-iimbestiga sa mga pahayag ng Vice Presidente. Sa isang press briefing, sinabi ni NBI Director Jaime Santiago na mas mabuti kung Ombudsman na ang mag-iimbestiga kay Vice President Sara. Una nang sinabi ni Ombudsman Samuel Martires na wala pa nila silang nakikitang mga aksyon ni VP Sara na dapat imbestigahan ng Ombudsman.
Tutol naman si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa posibleng impeachment complaint na ihahain sa Kamara laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Git ni Marcos Jr. pag-aaksaya lamang ito ng panahon dahil maaapektuhan ito ang trabaho ng mga kongresista at ng mga senador. Anya, hindi kagaganda ng buhay ng mga Pilipino ang pag-impeach kay Vice President Sara.
None of this will help improve a single Filipino life. As far as I'm concerned, it's a storm in a teacup.
Kinumpirma rin ng Pangulo na totoo ang kumalat na text message na hinikayat niya ang mga mambabatas na huwag nang maghain ng mga impeachment complaints laban sa bise. Naniniwala ang Pangulo na dapat ay ilaan ang oras ng mga mambabatas sa mas importanteng usapin. Tila nabigyan naman ng pag-asa ang mga Pilipinong umaasa na bumalik sa ayos ang unit team dahil never say never ang sagot ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa pahayag ni Vice President Sara na umabot na sa point of no return ang kanilang komunikasyon.
Never say never.
Sa pagbisita ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa Camp General Guillermo Nakar sa Lucena City, ay pinaalalahanan nito ang mga sundalong mag-focus sa kanilang tungkulin at huwag magparinlang sa mga tensyon sa politika. Sinabi ni Marcos na sa tuwing may kinakaharap siya na may mga ingay dahil sa politika, ipinapaalala niya rin sa kanyang sarili ang kanyang tunay na tungkulin. Pinuri niya rin ang mga sundalo dahil sa kanilang patuloy na pangangalaga sa seguridad ng bansa at pagtulong sa mga naaapektuhan ng sunod-sunod na kalamidad. Iniulat ng World Health Organization o WHO na nasa 100 Pilipino ang namamatay araw-araw dahil sa sakit na tuberculosis ngayong 2024. Batay sa Global Tuberculosis Report 2024 ng WHO, isa ang Pilipinas sa 8 bansa sa mundo na may pinakamaraming kaso ng tuberculosis, kung saan nasa 739,000 na kaso ang naitala kada taon. Sa kalkulasyon ni WHO Technical Officer on Tuberculosis Tom Hyatt, aabot sa 38,000 ang namamatay taon-taon sa Pilipinas mula sa daily death count na 100. Kasama rin anya ang Pilipinas sa top 5 countries sa 56% ng global tally cases ng TB na 10.8 million. Nagsagawa ng operasyon ng Philippine Coast Guard o PCG na nagresulta sa pagkakahanap sa 13 undocumented Chinese nationals sa isang dredger vessel sa Bataan. Noong Nobyembre 25, ipinaalam ng ahente ng dredger vessel sa Coast Guard ang nakatakdang pag-alis nito patungong Zambales. Subalit, nang tangkain ng PCG personnel na magsagawa ng pre-departure inspection, hinarang ng ahente ang pagpasok ng mga tauhan at iginiit na kumpleto ang mga kinakailangang dokumento. Dahil po dito, nagsagawa na masusing inspeksyon ang Coast Guard na kung saan nahanap nga ang 13 Chinese crew members na walang kaukulang dokumento. Kasalukuyang nakikipag-ugnayan ng PCG sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno upang imbestigahan ang insidente at magsampa ng kaso laban sa mga undocumented Chinese nationals. Asahan ang dagdag bawas sa mga produktong petrolyo sa unang linggo ng Disyembre.
Batay sa inilabas na estimates ng Oil Industry Management Bureau ng Department of Energy, posibleng tumaas ng 50 hanggang 80 sentimos ang presyo ng kada litro ng gasolina, habang 10 sentimos hanggang 30 sentimos naman ang posibleng rollback sa presyo ng kada litro ng diesel at kerosene. Paliwanag ni OIMB Director Rino Abad, asahan ang oversupply sa fuel at mahinang demand dito sa unang quarter ng susunod na taon o sa 2025, kaya magkakaroon ng rollback. Susunod, China at Russia muling nagsagawa ng isang joint military exercise sa Sea of Japan.
Foreign ministers ng G7 kinundina ang aggressive actions ng China sa West Philippine Sea.
At Mexico magtataas rin ng taripa bilang ganti sa tariffs ni Trump. Ang detalye ng mga balitang yan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
The way we shop has undergone a big shift from shopping in brick-and-mortar shops to online shopping platforms.
Ito ang mga tinatawag nating e-marketplaces. Pag-uusapan natin kung ano ang mga oportunidad, emerging trends.
Like sa offline, di ba, you have to pay for the mall, your rent fee. Pero sa
Online,
0% commission, wala po kayong babayaran. Napakadali. Pwede po sa app at ang bilis lang pong mag-sign up.
one of the good things about online shopping, the prices are quite
Yes,
Competitive.
Online Business, an open for business with Cesar Vallejos. Sunday, 9 p.m.
Meron pa bang batas yan? Don't people get rights anymore?
Isa itong direktang banta sa ating demokrasya, sa ating pamahalaan, at sa seguridad ng bayan.
Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itokhang.
Ang Kongreso ay sararado. Ang patakaran at seguridad dito ay hindi naglalabas.
Iimbestigahan na ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI ang mga binitiwang pahayag ni Vice President Duterte sa isang press conference noong nakaraang Biyernes ng gabi, kung saan sinabi niyang mayroon siyang inatasang hitman na papatay sa mag-asawang Marcos kapag namatay siya sa ilalim ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Ang mga pahayag ni Duterte ay maaari bang ituring na sedisyon at dapat bang suriin sa konteksto ng naging pahayag din ng kanyang ama na si former President Rodrigo Duterte. Sa ngayon ay all out ang gobyerno sa pag-iimbestiga kay Sara Duterte matapos na magbanta ito na ipatutumba ang first couple na sina Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., si First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, pati na rin ang pinsang buo nitong si House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez kapag may nangyari umanong masama sa kanya. Dagdag pa nito na ang kaso laban kay VP Sara ay isang oportunidad para ipakita na no one is above the law. Pinasaringan pa ni Marcos Jr. ang mga argumento ni VP Sara sa kanyang pahayag na ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itukhang. Pakinggan ninyo ito. Ngunit paano ba tayo humantong rito? Paano humantong rito ang lahat? Ano ang pinagmula ng pinakabagong kabanata ng Malasirkus na kaganapang ito?
May lawyer naman po kami dito.
Si Attorney Zuleika Lopez. Noong nagdaang pagdinig, 4 na opisyal ng OVP ang pinatawan ng contempt at ipinaaresto. Ang mga OVP officials na held in contempt ay sina OVP Special Disbursing Officer Gina Acosta, OVP Assistant Chief of Staff and Bids and Awards Committee Chairman Lemuel Ortonio, ang dating Deputy Assistant Secretary na si Sunshine Fajarda at asawa nitong si Edward Fajarda, dati namang Deputy Special Disbursing Officer. Matapos nito ay humarap na ang Chief of Staff ng Office of the Vice President na si Attorney Zuleika Lopez sa ika-6 na pagdinig ng House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. Kasunod ito ng pagbiyahe ni Lopez sa Amerika sa loob ng 2 linggo at matapos ma-isyuhan ang sabina ng komite. Ito ang unang pagkakataon na dumalo sa investigasyon si Lopez upang sagutin ang mga alegasyon hinggil sa umano'y maling paggamit ng confidential funds ng tanggapan ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Ang kanyang nakuha matapos ang halos 9 na oras sa paglilitis, isang contempt order mula sa Kamara dahil sa tila kasinungalingan sa kanyang mga pahayag. Alas 9 ng umaga noong Nobyembre 21 nang makatanggap ng pasabi ang House of Representatives mula sa OVP na dadalaw si VP Sara sa kanyang Chief of Staff. Bandang tanghali naman ay dumating ang advance party ng Vice Presidente sa Batasan Complex. Pagkatapos naman ito ay sumulat si VP Sara kay Chairman Chua na payagan siyang manatili sa kinaroroonan ni Attorney Lopez. Bandang alas 8 naman ay dumating na sa Kamara si VP Sara Duterte. Bandang alas 10 ng gabi ay nagtungo si VP sa tanggapan ng kanyang kapatid na si Representative Paulo Duterte at doon nagpalipas ng magdamag. Umaga naman ng Nobyembre 22, kinumpirma ng Kamara na natili doon sa Batasan Complex si VP Sara. Matapos nito ay dito na naglabas ng statement si VP Sara ukol sa kill order niya laban sa Pangulo, sa First Lady at sa first cousin nito ng Pangulo na si Speaker of the House Martin Romualdez. Kasama ng naturang kill order ang iba pang mga tirada laban sa Presidente. Pakinggan ninyo ito.
Huwag kang mag-alala, ma'am, sa security ko kasi may kinausap na ako na tao. Sinabi ko sa kanya, kapag pinatay ako, patayin mo si BBM, si Liza Araneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke. No joke. Nagbilin na ako, ma'am. Ninyong lahat. Martin Romualdez, Liza Marcos, Bongbong Marcos. Ginigit-git nyo yung mga tao ko diyan sa envelope na yan. Liza Marcos, naalala mo? Nagpadala ka sa akin ng video? Sinabihan mo ako saan kukunin ang pera. Pinakita mo ang muka ng tao doon sa video message mo. Hi, Nikki! This is she's been working with us for the longest time. We trust her. You sent me written instructions about money. Millions a month. Anong nakalagay doon sa envelope? DepEd. Anong ginawa ko? Binigay ko sa DepEd.
Pasado alas 3 ng umaga ng Nobyembre 23 ay itinakbo sa pagamutan si Undersecretary Zuleika Lopez, Office of the Vice President, matapos na magsuka at mahirapang huminga habang nasa kustodiya ng House of Representatives. Sinamahan siya ni Vice President Sara Duterte hanggang sa pagamutan. Sa ngayon ay nasa ospital pa rin si Attorney Lopez dahil sa acute stress disorder at kasalukuyang hindi pa makakadalo sa mga hearing ng Kamara hanggat sa hindi ma-clear ng ospital. Noong Lunes naman, bilang tugon sa mga tirada ng Vice Presidente, ay minabuti ni House Speaker Martin Romualdez na magbigay ng talumpati sa Kamara.
My distinguished colleagues, I stand before you today with a heavy yet resolute heart. Recent events compel me to address not only the accusations that have been hurled against me personally, but also the attacks on the institution we hold sacred, the House of Representatives, the heart of our democracy and the voice of the Filipino people. Let me begin with a matter that is both alarming and unprecedented. The Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, Sara Duterte, admitted to contacting an assassin to kill President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos, and myself. Let me be clear. Hindi na to biro. Hindi na to normal na panalita. Isa itong direktang banta sa ating demokrasya, sa ating pamahalaan at sa seguridad ng bayan.
Bago naman ang President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos
Nakakabahala ang mga pahayag na narinig natin itong mga nakarang araw. Nandyan ang walang pakundangang pagmumura at ang pagbabanta ng planong ipapatay ang ilan sa atin. Kung ganun na lang kadali ang pagplano sa pagpatay ng isang presidente, paano pa kaya ang mga pangkaraniwan na mamamayan? Hindi na sanang hahantong sa ganitong drama kung sasakodin lamang ang mga lehitimong katanungan sa Senado at sa House of Representatives. Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itokhang.
Sa pinakabagong statement naman ni Vice President Sara ay sinabi nitong nasa point of no return na ang relasyon nila ng presidente. Isang napakalungkot na kabanata sa pagtatapos ng unit team. Pakinggan ninyo ito.
I believe, ma'am, that we reached the point of no return. I really believe that we have reached the point of no return. And it is clear, ma'am, na parang they are really going after me.
Ang nakapagtataka rito ay itong malaking drama na ito ay tila nagsisilbing piring sa mata ng taong bayan sa likod ng mas malaking issue ngayon, ang kaso ukol sa misuse of confidential funds ng Office of the Vice President. Nadismaya ang karamihan sa mga natuklasan ng House Blue Ribbon Committee dahil nakita kung paano ginamit at ginastos ang confidential funds ng OVP at DepEd na ipinagkaloob sa nasabing mga ahensya noong 2022 at 2023. Magmula sa kontrobersiya ni Mary Grace Piatos sa mga mahiwagang sobre na ipinamigay ni Ms. Sunshine sa mga opisyal ng DepEd. Isipin nyo sa 61.20 o 612.5 milyong piso na pondo, 500 milyong piso dito ay napunta sa confidential funds sa OVP habang ang 112.5 milyong piso naman ay napunta sa DepEd. Isa sa mga nakababahala na paggasto sa confidential funds ay ang tig 16 million pesos na ginastos ng OVP para sa 34 safe houses sa loob lamang ng 11 araw noong taong 2022. Ka-question din ang 15 million pesos na confidential funds ng DepEd na ginamit para sa youth leadership summits at anti-extremism programs. Sana ay maging matatag ang komite sa misyon nitong tuklasin ang katotohanan at sagutin ang pangunahing tanong, saan po talaga napunta ang 612.5 million pesos na pera ng bayan. Habang nagpapatuloy ang mga pagdinig, inaasahang titindi pa ang investigasyon at ang mga mambabatas ay nangakong pananagutin kung sino man ang may sala.
Sa iba pang mga balita, nagsagawa ng ikasyam na Joint Strategic Air Patrol ang China at Russia sa Sea of Japan nitong Biyernes. Bahagi ang military exercise na ito sa taunang cooperation plan ng dalawang bansa mula pa noong taong 2019. Ayon sa Chinese media, layunin ng air patrol na epektibong subukan at pahusayin ang joint exercise at operational capability ng kanilang mga air forces. Samantala, nagprotesta ang South Korea dahil isinagawa ang air patrol ng walang abiso at agarang nagpadala ng fighter jets rin matapos pumasok ang 11 Chinese at Russian aircraft sa kanilang air defense zone. Wala namang iniulat na karagdagang insidente ang dalawang panig dahil kaagad na lumabas sa airspace ang mga aircraft ng Moscow at Beijing.
Kinundina ng Group of Seven o G7 foreign ministers ang mga mapanganib at agresibong aksyon ng China sa West Philippine Sea. Sa isang joint statement, pinuna ng mga ministro ang paggamit ng China ng mga water cannons, mapanganib na pagmaniobra at ang pagpapadala ng Coast Guard at Maritime Militia sa naturang lugar upang manakot at manindak ng ibang bansa laban sa pakikipagsapalaran sa naturang katubigan. Ayon sa G7, ikinababahala nila ang sitwasyon sa WPS dahil na rin sa walang tigil na agresyon ng China, partikular na tinukoy ng mga ito ang ginagawa ng Beijing laban sa mga Philippine at Vietnamese vessels na naglalayag sa rehiyon. Git pa ng grupo na walang legal na basihan ang pag-angkin ng China sa WPS at tila katang-isip lamang ang historical basis umano ng kanilang pagkamkam sa teritoryo ng ibang bansa. Ipinagdiinan ng grupo ang pagtutol sa militarisasyon, pananakot at paghahari-harian ng China sa naturang karagatan. Ang joint statement na ito ay pinirmahan ng mga kinatawan ng Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, US at the European Union.
Dumating na sa North Korea si Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov nitong Biyernes para sa isang meeting upang palalimin ang kooperasyon ng dalawang bansa sa digmaan sa Ukraine. Hindi idinetali ng North Korean state media o ng Defense Secretary ng Russia kung sino-sino ang makakausap ni Belousov o ang layunin ng pagpupulong. Subalit, naglabas ang Defense Ministry ng mga larawan na nagpapakita kay Belousov na naglalakad kasama si North Korean Defense Minister No Kwang-chol sa isang airport sa Pyongyang. Makikita rin sa mga inilabas na footage ang ilang mga general at delegasyon ng magkabilang panig sa isang meeting kung saan sinabi ni Belousov ang importansya ng katatagan ng treaty sa pagitan ng Russia at North Korea.
Binalaan ni Russian President Vladimir Putin ang Ukraine sakaling tamaan ang kanilang mga power grids.
Мы знаем, разумеется, сколько соответствующих систем вооружения находится на вооружении у потенциального противника. Сколько на складах, где они конкретно находятся, сколько вооружения поставлено на Украину и сколько планируется поставить. Что касается производства соответствующих ракетных систем, соответствующей техники, то в России оно в 10 раз больше, чем совокупное производство всех стран НАТО вместе взятых. И в следующем году это производство будет увеличено еще на 25-30%.
Sinabi ng Russian President na hindi sila magdadalawang isip na paulanan ng Kiev ang missiles sa okasyong magsagawa ang Ukraine ng airstrike sa mga essential infrastructure ng Moscow. Isinagawa nito ang pahayag sa pulong niya sa mga security alliance ng dating Soviet countries sa Astana, Kazakhstan. Hindi rin ikinailan ng Russian President ang paggamit nila ng Collective Security Treaty Organization o CSTO na tumama sa Dnipro City sa Ukraine. Ipinagmalaki rin ito sa Collective Security Treaty Organization summit na nagsimula na ang Russia ng paggawa ng nuclear-capable weapons kung saan pumipili ng kanilang Ministry of Defense ng mas maraming targets sa Ukraine para sa strikes gamit ang mga bagong missiles.
Мы будем следить за каждым шагом, что там происходит. Это в свое время была очень высокотехнологичная, развитая в промышленном отношении Республика Советского Союза. Но все утрачено. Ну или почти все. Чем могла гордиться советская Украина, утрачено. Поэтому сегодня сделать почти с нуля будет практически невозможно. Ну, что-то грязное там, как говорят, грязную бомбу, там, ну, просто отходы с атомной электростанции можно собрать, конечно. Но и в этом случае ответ будет абсолютно адекватный угрозам Российской Федерации.
Nagpadala ang Sweden ng isang formal na kahilingan sa China matapos masira ang dalawang undersea cable sa Baltic Sea noong November 17 at 18. Ayon kay Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, nais ng Sweden na linawin ng Beijing kung bakit nasira ang subsea cable na siyang nag-uugnay sa Finland at sa Germany at ang isa pang cable na nag-uugnay naman sa Sweden at Lithuania. Lumalabas sa investigasyon na may kinalaman ng Chinese vessel na Yipeng 3. Ilang analyst o isang analysis din ng marine traffic data ang nagtuturo na ang barkong Yipeng 3 ay napadaan sa oras at lugar kung kailan nasira ang mga subsea cables. Ipinapalagay naman ni German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius na isang sabotahe ang nangyari.
As I've said before, Sweden has expressed our desire for the ship to move to Swedish waters. We are in contact also with China from Sweden. Today, I can also tell you that in addition to that, Sweden has also sent a formal request to China to cooperate with Swedish authorities in order to create clarity on what has happened. That formal request was sent to China earlier today. And we will, of course, return to the matter as soon as we have anything new to report.
Kasalukuyang naghahanda ang Estados Unidos ng higit sa $700 million na weapons package para sa Ukraine. Ayon sa isang U.S. official, plano ng Biden administration na magbigay ng iba't ibang anti-tank weapons mula sa kanilang stockpile. Kabilang sa mga ipapadala ang landmines, drones, Stinger missiles at ammunition para sa HIMARS. Inaasahan kasama rin sa package ang cluster munitions na karaniwang matatagpuan sa Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System rockets. Wala pang nakatakdang petsa para sa pagpapadala ng weapons package proposal sa Congress ng U.S. at posible pang magbago ang nilalaman at laki ng nasabing package sa mga susunod na araw.
Sa ikalawang araw ng ceasefire sa pagitan ng Israel at Hezbollah, sinimulan na ang pagbabalik-bayan ng mga lumikas na Lebanese. Si Tony Rose Valenzuela po para sa karagdagang detalye.
Nag-aabang sa border ng Jedidah at Yabus, papasok ng Lebanon ang mga lumikas noon mula sa Lebanon. Pitpit ang kanilang mga naisalbang gamit at nakasiksik sa mga sasakyan. Nagkukumpulang ang mga ito sa departures hall sa border ng Syria. Para kay Hassan Ali Musa, na isang displaced Lebanese, hindi na bagong bagay ang ganitong mga pangyayari. Anya, ilang beses na silang iniligtas ng giyera.
أضرار كله بيتعوض كل هيدي كله ما فدا المقاومة فدا أهل فلسطين فدا المقدسات بفلسطين هيدي نهج هيدا نحن تعودنا عليه من 82 لل 96 لل 2006 لل 2024 كلها هي حروب تهجرنا فيها ورجعنا.
Para naman kina Fairuz at Mohsen Ali Musa, kahit mayroon pang tutukan, babalik at babalik sila sa kanilang tahanan.
لو كان في قصف لو شو ما كان نحن ما نرجع على أرضنا وما حنبعد عنه حتى لو كان تحت القصف نحن راجعين على بلد.
مبدئيا نحن راجعين وتحت الرصاص وتحت البارود بدنا نقعد على الردم.
Opisyal na nagsimula ang isang ceasefire sa pagitan ng Israel at ng Lebanese armed group na Hezbollah noong Miyerkules. Ang tigil putukan ay batay sa isang kasunduan na isinulong ng Estados Unidos at France na payagan na ang mga tao sa kapwa bansa na makabalik sa kani-kanilang tahanan. Ito ay sa mga lugar na napinsala sa loob ng 14 na buwang labanan. Ayon sa United Nations Population Fund, may 473,000 ng mga tao ang lumikas mula Lebanon papuntang Syria dahil sa gyera. Tony Rose Valenzuela para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tinawag ni UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres na first ray of hope para sa Middle East ang nangyayaring ceasefire deal sa pagitan ng Israel at Hezbollah sa Lebanon. Narito ang report ni Cherry Recolizado.
Noong Miyerkules, opisyal na nagsimula ang tigil putukan sa pagitan ng Israel at ng Hezbollah sa Lebanon. Kaugnay nito, sinabi ni UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres na ito ay hudyat ng pag-asa sa gitnang silangan kung saan ilang buwan nang umaapoy ang giyera.
Eu tive ontem sinal auspicioso, diria, o primeiro raio de luz de esperança em relação à paz que recebi no meio da escuridão dos últimos meses, recebi-o em Portugal. E foi o acordo de cessar-fogo em relação ao Líbano. É um momento de grande importância, sobretudo para os civis que pagavam um preço enorme pelo facto deste conflito se estar não só a arrastar, como a ganhar dimensões cada vez mais preocupantes.
Sa isang maikling pahayag sa telebisyon sa kanyang pagbisita sa Lisbon, binigyang diin niya na ang UN Peacemaking Force sa Lebanon ay handang mag-monitor ng ceasefire. Ipinanawagan din niyang muli ang ukol sa agarang ceasefire din sa Gaza.
É essencial que aqueles que hoje assinaram, ou ontem assinaram um compromisso de cessar fogo, é essencial que o respeitem integralmente e é essencial que este compromisso abra caminho a uma solução política para a crise libanesa e, ao mesmo tempo, posso garantir-vos que a UNIFIL, a Força de Manutenção da Paz das Nações Unidas que tem estado no Líbano, está neste momento preparada para dar o seu contributo à verificação deste cessar-fogo com total empenhamento.
Cherry Recolizado para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagpahayag po ng pag-asa ang isang opisyal ng World Health Organization na tila naghahanda na muling magbukas ang ilang mga ospital sa Lebanon. Ito ay kung magiging matagumpay ang idineklarang ceasefire doon sa pagitan ng Israel at Hezbollah. Jessica Bautista po para sa report.
Matapos maibit sa halos 14 na buwang labanan sa pagitan ng Israel at armadong grupong Hezbollah, bumubuelo na ang ilang mga ospital sa Lebanon upang maging operasyonal muli ngayong may ceasefire na. Ito ay ayon sa kinatawan ng WHO sa Lebanon na si Abdinasser Abubakar.
Probably some hospitals will take some time, but some hospitals probably will be able to restart very quickly. For example, there are 4 hospitals, 2 in Beirut, 2 outside Beirut, that probably will be able to operationalize for the next 4 weeks if the ceasefire remains intact, and also if the security allows us to move around, there is no restrictions. So we are very hopeful.
Matapos suriin ni Abubakar ang pinsalang tinamo ng mga ospital dahil sa giyera, sinabi nitong 4 na ospital sa Beirut at sa paligid nito ang maaari nang mabukas agad. Dagdag nito sa pagdating ng ceasefire, napakalaki ang kailangan trabahuin sa bansa, lalo na ang tungkol sa serbisyong pangkalusugan.
Primary healthcare facilities need to be reestablished, renovated, medicine should to be provided, but also as a WHO we are working closely with the Minister of Health how to facilitate the return of healthcare workers as well. As you know that many healthcare workers were also displaced from the south and from the east, and also we need to facilitate that. I think the most critical aspect is how to reestablish the healthcare services in those conflict-affected areas. Of course, it will take some time, but I think we are working with the partners, with the Minister of Health to make sure that health services are available for those people who are returning to the conflict-affected areas.
Samantala, sa pulong ding iyon, nananawagan si WHO Head of Emergency Program Mike Ryan para sa ceasefire agreement din sa Gaza.
What has happened in Lebanon has been a terrible tragedy, and this peace is fantastic. But the attention must now move urgently to Gaza. We have to stop the fighting in Gaza. The situation is catastrophic. The system is under huge pressure. And on the health side, and maybe our rhetoric will speak to this, hugely brave health workers, international emergency medical teams, WHO and other UN staff, keeping that system going in an incredible way. So I think it's really important that whatever has been achieved now is secured in the Lebanon-Israel conflict, but that we have the same process achieved as quickly as possible for Gaza.
Opisyal na sinimulan ang ceasefire sa pagitan ng Israel at ng Lebanese armed group na Hezbollah noong Miyerkules 27 ng Nobyembre. Batay sa kasunduan, papayagan ng makauwi sa kani-kanilang mga tahanan sa border areas ang mga tao mula sa dalawang bansa na napalikas dahil sa labanan. Jessica Bautista para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagbabala ang Mexico na gaganti ito sakaling ipatupad ng Trump administration ang banta nitong 25% tariffs sa mga produktong inaangkat mula rito. Narito ang mga detalye mula kay Ashley Sakmar.
Nagbanta si Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum noong Miyerkules na gaganti ito sa 25% taripa ng administrasyong Trump sakaling ituloy ito. Ayon sa pamahalaang Mexico, ang pagganting ito ay papatay ng may 400,000 na mga trabahong US.
Con su permiso, Presidenta, se le coloca 25% de impuesto a las empresas que ya describí, principalmente, aunque hay muchas otras, pero principalmente a esas.
Ayon kay Sheinbaum, handa ang Mexico na taasan din ang taripa nila upang tapatan ang aksyong ito ng Estados Unidos.
Y puede afectar a 400,000 empleos en los Estados Unidos. Ese es el impacto estimado.
Ang Mexico ang pangunahing trade partner ng US at ang automotive industry nito ang pinakamahalagang manufacturing sector na nag-e-export sa Amerika. Hawak nito ang 25% ng lahat ng North American vehicle production. Ang mungkahing taripa ni Trump ay lalabag sa USMCA trade deal na nilagdaan ng tatlong bansa noong 2020 ng Pangulo si Trump. Subalit ayon kay Sheinbaum, naniniwala siyang mananatili ang bisa ng US-Mexico-Canada Treaty.
Nosotros tenemos un plan y yo estoy convencida que va a permanecer el tratado. Va a permanecer el tratado. Nos ayuda a las tres economías y eso lo saben los tres países, sus empresarios, sus empresarias y sus gobiernos.
Ashley Sakmar para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, higit 100 katao nawawala matapos ang isang mudslide sa Uganda.
Australia ay naprubahan na ang social media ban para sa mga kabataan.
At New Jeans, tinapos na ang kontrata nila sa Adore. Mga detalye ng mga balitang yan at iba pa sa pagbabalik na mata ng Agila International.
9 a.m. Yun na lang yan sa NET25. Ito ang tahanan. Ako po si Ate Sherilyn.
Patuloy pa rin ang paghahanap ng security forces at local rescuers sa Uganda sa higit sa 100 kataong nawawala matapos ang isang mudslide. Higit sa 8 oras na naghukay ang mga residente ng Bulunganya Sub-County para hanapin ang kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. Sa kasalukuyan, 15 bangkay pa lamang ang na-recover ng mga otoridad. Hindi bababa sa 30 ang nasawi at maaari pa itong tumaas. Tuloy-tuloy ang rescue operations ng pulisya sa mga komunidad na apektado naman ng malawakang pagbaha sa Uganda. Karamihan kasi sa mga kalsada sa lugar ay hindi na madaanan ng mga ambulansya. Humihingi ng agarang tulong ang mga residente sa gobyerno ng Uganda dahil sa lumulubhang lagay ng lugar.
Gumuho ang isang residential building sa Barranquilla sa Colombia na ikinasawi ng isang babae. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, tinilikas ang mga residente malapit sa gumuhong gusali habang sugatan ang hindi pa natutukoy na bilang ng mga tao. Pinaghahanap na rin ng mga rescuers ang mga potensyal na biktimang nakaligtas sa insidente. Naglunsad na ng investigasyon ng mga otoridad sa sanhi ng trahedya.
Nanawagan si WHO Epidemiologist Maria Van Kerkhove na paigtingin pa ang pamagmamanman at pagsusuri sa mga hayop ukol sa ebidensya ng impeksyon mula sa H5N1 bird flu.
We have had about 55 human infections in the U.S. this year. All of 2 have had exposure, known exposure to infected animals. There are many investigations that are underway looking at the exposures of each of these cases to determine how people have been infected. But what we really need globally, in the U.S. and abroad, is much stronger surveillance in animals, in wild birds, in poultry, in animals that are known to be susceptible to infection, which include swine, which include dairy cattle, to better understand the circulation in these animals. We need much stronger efforts in terms of reducing the risk of infection between animals, to new species, and to humans.
Ayon sa ahensya, nakikipag-ugnayan na ito sa mga katuwang na ahensya katulad ng World Organization for Animal Health at sa Food and Agriculture Organization upang madagdagan ang surveillance sa mga hayop. Noong nakaraang buwan, kinumpirma ng U.S. Department of Agriculture ang presensya ng H5N1 bird flu sa isang baboy sa isang backyard farm sa Oregon. Ipinag-alalaan ang mga baboy kaugnay ng pagkalat ng bird flu dahil maaari itong mahalo sa mga virus sa ibon at maging sa tao. Maaari po itong magpalitan genes upang bumuo ng bago at mas delikadong virus na mas madaling kumapit sa mga tao. Sa naiulat na 55 mga kaso ng H5N1, karamihan ay sa mga nagtatrabaho sa farms na nagkaroon ng kontak sa poultry o di kaya sa baka. Sa kasalukuyan, wala pa namang pagkalat na nagaganap na tao sa tao. Subalit sinasabing mas mataas ang posibilidad na magkaroon ng virus ang dairy at iba pang farm workers.
Malapit nang maabot ng Bitcoin ang $100,000 mark. Dahil dito, isang finance expert ang nagbabala na huwag namang ibuhos ang lahat ng pera sa pinakamalaking cryptocurrency sa mundo. Si Marjorie Quintos para sa report.
Ayon kay finance expert at podcaster Carmen Mayer, bagamat magandang diversification ng investments ang Bitcoin, payo niyang huwag ibuhos ang lahat dito.
Ich würde nie mein ganzes Geld in Bitcoin reintun. Also 10% des Nettovermögens, was liquide ist, reicht vollkommen aus, finde ich. Aber ich finde, es ist eine schöne Diversifikation. Es ist anders als Aktien, es ist anders als Immobilien, es ist anders als Gold oder auch Silber. Und es ist einfach auch eine spannende Technologie, die man, wenn man investiert ist, finde ich, auch schön mitverfolgen kann, was alles passiert, auch mit Ethereum und den weiteren Cryptocurrencies, die es so gibt.
Namayagpag ang pinakakilalang cryptocurrency ng 120% ngayong taon at ng 34% ngayong buwan nang mahalal muli si Donald Trump bilang Pangulo ng Estados Unidos. Dagdag pa rito ang ilang mga mambabatas sa Kongreso na pro-crypto. Subalit ayon kay Mayor, ang mabilis na pagtaas at pagbaba ay bahagi ng Bitcoin dahil ito ay likas na pabago-bago.
Beim Bitcoin gehört beides dazu, das muss man ganz klar sagen. Es gibt Gewinne und es gibt Verluste. Also ich habe auch mal investiert, da war der am All-Time-High, nennt sich das, also wirklich der war bei 68.000 oder 60.000 und ist dann nicht mehr weiter hochgegangen. Und dann gab es die Richtung nach unten. Und das ist natürlich emotional und das ist nicht schön, aber das gehört dazu. Der Bitcoin ist sehr volatil. Das bedeutet, er macht schnelle, große Bewegungen nach oben, aber die macht er auch nach unten. Aber auf der anderen Seite habe ich auch viel Geld mit Bitcoin verdient. Wir sind reingegangen, da war der bei 20.000 und dann ist er auf 60.000 hochgegangen und das in einer wirklich kurzen Zeit und das ist wirklich dann auch schön, da freut man sich auch. Auch so wie jetzt bei dem Ausbruch bin ich auch wieder reingegangen und freue mich natürlich über diese Zuwächse, die in einer wirklich schnellen Zeit dann passieren.
Subalit nang hindi makalampas ang Bitcoin sa $100,000, inaabangan na ng investors ang pagbagsak ng cryptocurrency. Ayon kay Volker Brul ng Center of Financial Studies, ngayon ang panahon na suriin ng investors ang kanilang layunin kung ngayon ba ang panahon para umarya sa cryptocurrency. Noong 22 ng Nobyembre, umabot ang Bitcoin sa pinakamataas na halaga nito na $99,830. Subalit mula noon ay bumaba na ng 8% ito sa one-week low na $91,377.32 nitong Martes. Marjorie Quintos para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Inaprubahan na po ngayon sa Australia ang pagbabawal sa mga menor de edad na gumamit ng social media. Ayon sa inilabas na kautusan ng Australia ay hindi na maaaring gumamit ng social media ang mga kabataang nasa edad 16 na taon pababa. Ngunit maghihintay muna ng 16 na buwan ng bansa bago ito tuluyang maipatupad. Ayon kay Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, ang pagpapatupad nito ay makatutulong para sa mga kabataan na maprotektahan laban sa masamang epekto ng social media. Anya ay pinagbotohan ito ng mga senador kung saan 34 sa kanila ang sumang-ayon. Bukod rito ay hihingi rin ng payo ang gobyerno sa isang e-safety commissioner para sa mas maayos na pagpapatupad ng kautusan. Kasama rin dito ang age verification technology na siyang magiging daan sa mas mahigpit na pagbabantay sa edad ng mga users.
Kinasuhan po ng Competition Bureau ng Canada ang Google dahil sa umano'y anti-competitive practices ng nasabing kumpanya na naoobserbahan umano sa online advertisements nito. Ayon sa Bureau, abusado ang Google dahil sa dominant market position ng ad tech tools ng tech giant. Anila, hindi sumunod ang Google sa Competition Act ng Canada. At dahil dito, sinasabi ng Competition Bureau na nakaranas ng hindi patas sa kompetisyon ang ibang rival companies ng Google na nagresulta naman sa mataas na advertising cost at pagbaba ng publisher revenues ng mga ito. Itinanggi naman ng Google ang mga paratang at sinabing handa itong depensahan ang kumpanya mula sa nasabing aligasyon.
Pinatawa ng isang buwang suspensyon ang Polish tennis star na si Iga Swiatek. Kasunod ito ng pagpositibo niya sa ipinagbabawal na substance o performance-enhancing drugs. Ayon sa International Tennis Integrity Agency o ITIA, na maluwag naman na tinanggap nito ang nasabing kaparusahan. Dagdag pa nila na nakita sa katawan ng 5-time Grand Slam winner ang pagpositibo niya ng trimetazidine. Tinanggap din nila ang sanhi ng nasabing pagpositibo sa nasabing substance ay mula sa contamination ng regulated non-prescription medication na melatonin na madalas na ibinebenta at nabibili sa Poland. Iniinom umano ni Sviantek ang nasabing gamot tuwing may jet lag ito at tuwing hirap siyang makatulog.
Inanunsyo ng mga miyembro ng K-pop girl group na New Jeans ang kanilang pag-alis sa Ador, kasama na ang pagkansela nito sa kanilang kontrata. Ayon sa miyembro na si Minji ay tinatapos na nila ang kanilang exclusive contract sa Ador na nasa ilalim ng pangangalaga ng UB label. Anila, sinusubukan naman nilang intindihin ang hindi magandang pakikitungo ng mga HYBE, ngunit tila hindi ito nakikinig sa kanilang mga opinyon. Bago ito ay una nang nagpadala ng Certification of Contents ang grupo sa Ador para kumpirmahin na wala silang malalabag sa kontrata kung ito ay kanilang tatapusin. Matatandaan din na nitong mga nakaraang buwan ay nagkaroon ng pagtatalo sa pagitan ng HYBE at ang dating CEO ng Ador na si Min Hee-jin. Hiling ng grupo ay bigyan pansin sana ng kumpanya ang kumalat na Weekly Music Industry Report kasama na ang paghingi ng tawad na manager ng HYBE na hindi naman sin sa grupo. Samantala, sinigurado naman ng miyembro na si Daniel na magpapatuloy pa rin ang mga aktibidad ng kanilang grupo sa kabila ng pag-alis nila sa Ador. At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Happy weekend, everybody. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako naman si Nina Richie Alago Flores na bumabati rin ng happy weekend po sa inyong lahat. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balita pang nangyari sa iba't iba namang panig ng mundo, punta naman po tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thanks, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. President Marcos Jr. said that any impeachment complaint against his trained Vice President Sara Duterte would only distract Congress and not benefit the people.
This does not make any difference to even one single Filipino life. So why waste time on this?
In a historic move, Australia is now set to ban children under 16 from using popular social media apps.
Fundamental questions that haven't been answered. What's the technical basis of this? What's the scope? How are we going to manage the unintended safety risks?
What we know so far.
From Australia to New Zealand to the Pacific Islands, the Care for Humanity events held in this part of the world have been vast in scope.
The news starts now. President Marcos Jr. today dismissed calls for the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, saying such proceedings would only distract Congress and fail to address the nation's pressing needs. Now, his remarks sparked backlash from lawmakers who accused him of interfering with the legislative process.
This does not make any difference to even one single Filipino life. So why waste time on this? What will happen to if somebody files an impeachment? It will tie down the House, it will tie down the Senate, it will just take up all the time, and for what? For nothing. For nothing. None of this will help improve a single Filipino life. As far as I'm concerned, it's a storm in a teacup.
A coalition of leftist lawmakers criticized Marcos' statement, labeling it a brazen attempt to influence Congress after he discouraged impeachment. In a response, Representatives Franz Castro, Arlene Brosas, and Raul Manuel announced their readiness to pursue impeachment, urging Congress to maintain its independence. Amid the turmoil, a coalition of business and civil society groups, including the Makati Business Club, called on public officials to prioritize governance over politics. It said threats, incendiary rhetoric, or violence have no place in a nation founded on the rule of law. Duterte's recent claim of hiring an assassin to target the president, his wife, and Romualdez if she were killed prompted a strong rebuke from Marcos. Law enforcement summoned Duterte for questioning over her statement, but she requested a new schedule, citing urgent office matters. When asked about the state of his relationship with Duterte, Marcos left the door open.
Sir, have you reached the point of no return, you and VP Sara, sir?
Never say never.
Now, Australia has approved a social media ban for children aged under 16, and this comes after an emotional debate that has gripped the nation, setting a benchmark for jurisdictions around the world, with one of the youngest regulations targeting big tech. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
We've got your back is our message to Australian parents.
The government's taking control of things that is parents' responsibility.
This is the great divide in Australia. Supporters and opponents of the government's national teen social media ban, the first of its kind in the world. Social media giants are being forced to stop kids under 16 from logging on to their favorite platform, be it Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, or others. Failure to do so gets expensive. Fines could go as high as $32 million US. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the ban will protect young people from cyberbullying and other dark sides of social media.
Look, the consequences, I've met with parents have lost and buried their child. It's devastating. We can't, as a government, hear those messages from parents and say it's too hard. We have a responsibility to act. My government has done that.
Communication Minister Michelle Rowland says the purveyors of social media have a responsibility to address the harms on their platforms. And Rowland says too many young Australians have been hurt by social media.
Almost 2/3 of 14 to 17-year-old Australians have viewed extremely harmful content online, including drug abuse, suicide or self-harm, as well as violent material.
But there's been pushback from parents and young people alike. 16-year-old Annie Lam agrees that social media has created problems for youth, and she says it's good that the government is doing something to counteract that. But Lam says this legislation goes too far.
I believe that it will only create a generation of young people who will be more technologically literate in bypassing these walls and things that will be used to deter young people from using it by using fake ages and fake identification, and won't achieve the desired effects.
Lam says young people should regulate their own personal social media usage rather than being forced off of it. 58-year-old Sean Close says the government is meddling in an area it doesn't belong in.
It's as though the government owns the children. No, they don't. No one owns the children, actually. They're individual souls, and the government can't own people. And they can't tell parents what to do with their children. And what it is actually censoring for everyone.
Steph Wu agrees.
When I was a child, it was my parents' responsibility to not police, but enforce what I was doing and make sure that I was not, exposing myself to any harm. And I think that maybe a government intervention is probably unnecessary on such a wide scale.
But the ban has its supporters, and they say kids are being exposed to a lot of unsavory material, so there should be restrictions.
I think that's a great idea because I found that the social media for kids is not really appropriate. Sometimes they can have a look something that they shouldn't. So I think for the age, I think we should really not have an access for, children or kids that underage.
There are warnings from big tech that the legislation has been rushed through without time to study its consequences. Sunita Bose of the Australian Digital Industry Group says the ban may create unintended problems.
There are fundamental questions that haven't been answered. What's the technical basis of this? What's the scope? How are we going to manage the unintended safety risks that this will pose to young people who may be pushed to darker, less safe parts of the internet in their attempts to get online?
The Australian legislation has caught the attention of people around the globe. And like those in the nation down under, they're split on whether a youth social media ban is a good idea. Other countries are looking at it, considering whether to adopt similar laws and whether they should be as tough. The only consensus seems to be that social media causes harm to young people. The disagreements begin as we discuss how to mitigate that damage. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
China's military is facing unprecedented chaos with a series of high-profile purges rattling the ranks of the People's Liberation Army. The latest fallout involves Admiral Miao Hua, a top officer and member of the Central Military Commission who has been suspended over a serious breach of discipline. Take a look. The latest fallout involves Admiral Miao Hua, a top officer and member of the Central Military Commission, or CMC, who has been suspended over a serious breach of discipline.
中央军委委员、军委政治工作部上将主任苗华涉嫌严重违纪，经党中央研究，决定对苗华停职检查。
The term, often a euphemism for corruption, highlights the ongoing crackdown within the PLA. Admiral Miao, once considered a close ally of President Xi Jinping, was known for his powerful role in China's military decision-making. His suspension follows similar cases, including those of two former Defense Minister Wei Fenghe and Li Shangfu, accused of corruption earlier this year. Over the past year alone, at least 16 senior military officials have been purged, spanning key departments such as the Rocket Force and Equipment Department. The purge underscores systemic corruption, with over 4,000 cases investigated since Xi Jinping took power. Yet, despite the sweeping cleanup, the rot appears far from contained. Xi has even set up a special investigative group reporting directly to the CMC to root out corruption further. The Defense Ministry denies reports of an investigation into current Defense Minister Admiral Dong Jun, calling them fabrications.
有关报道纯属捏造，造谣者居心叵测，中方对这种污蔑行径表示强烈不满。
But his conspicuous absence raises questions. U.S. officials are skeptical, believing Dong is under investigation, making him the third defense minister in 2 years to face such accusations. These internal struggles come as China faces mounting external challenges. Tensions with Taiwan are escalating, with Beijing conducting military drills and issuing warnings over Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's trip to the U.S.
中方对发展中美两军关系是有原则的，那就是中方的主权、尊严和核心利益不容侵犯。会晤需要合适氛围，沟通不能没有原则。美方也不必摆出一副希望对话的姿态，自己做过什么损害中方核心利益的事儿，难道自己心里还没有点数吗？
Amid these challenges, the PLA stability is under scrutiny. Can a military riddled with corruption and leadership turmoil effectively navigate external conflicts? For China's neighbors, vigilance is critical, as any misstep could have far-reaching consequences. Now to the war in Ukraine. A large-scale drone attack by Russia overnight has targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure, leaving over 1 million homes and businesses without power.
President Vladimir Putin said Russia had struck Ukraine's energy infrastructure on Thursday in response to Kyiv using U.S. medium-range missiles, and that it could use its new Oreshnik hypersonic missile to attack decision-making centers in Kyiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of a, quote, despicable escalation, saying it had used cruise missiles with cluster munitions in its attack on power infrastructure. Putin also said that Russia would use all weapons at its disposal against Ukraine if Kyiv were to acquire nuclear arms.
If the country with which we are currently fighting becomes a nuclear power, what should we do? In this case, we will adopt and use everything. I want to emphasize this. Exactly all the means of destruction at Russia's disposal. Everything.
The New York Times reported last week that unidentified Western officials suggested U.S. President Joe Biden could provide Ukraine with nuclear weapons before he leaves office. Putin said it would be practically impossible for Ukraine to produce a nuclear weapon, but that it might be able to make a so-called dirty bomb. Russia has repeatedly said, without providing evidence, that Ukraine might use such a device. Georgy Tiki, a spokesperson for Ukraine's foreign ministry, urged the international community to react to Putin's threats and called on the country's partners to speed up the delivery of military aid.
And Putin obviously tries to influence the new U.S. administration by those statements. It is very important if we treat it fairly. These are the statements. This blackmail is the expansion of war and the threat of expansion of war, an acceptable one.
On Thursday, Putin said that there were no preconditions to start talks with Ukraine on a possible peace settlement, but that the terms he set out in June for a deal remain unchanged. Those include dropping NATO ambitions and handing over the 4 provinces claimed by Moscow. Zelensky said on Thursday that Putin's promotion of the Oreshnik missile shows that he does not want to end the war or allow others to try.
President-elect Donald Trump has appointed retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg as his special envoy to Ukraine. Kellogg, a staunch Trump loyalist, will take on the role in 2025, marking the 3rd year of Russia's invasion. The position was created after the invasion, and Trump has tasked Kellogg with bringing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. While Trump has repeatedly stated that he aims to end the war before even taking office, Kellogg only partially agrees with this. He has suggested earlier that weapon shipments to Ukraine could stop if Ukraine refuses peace talks, but would continue if Putin refuses to negotiate. Kellogg emphasized that Ukraine must come to the table or U.S. support will dwindle. But if Putin doesn't negotiate, Ukraine will receive all necessary resources to continue fighting. Meanwhile, after Trump announced his pick, Russia stated that Kellogg's role depends entirely on Washington's actions.
Maybe the future president will said it's not me, it's those lunatics who were in power before me. Well, that's one option. Maybe there is a version that the current administration does everything to create more difficulties to make life as hard as possible for the future administration. Well, that's possible, but as far as I see that, President Trump, a smart and experienced person, will come up with a solution, especially given that he has gone through quite an ordeal of fighting to reclaim the Oval Office.
Russia's message highlights the uncertainty surrounding U.S. support, as Trump's team is expected to audit assistance to Ukraine. And as Trump prepares to return to the White House, President Joe Biden is set to provide additional military aid to Ukraine, including $725 million in assistance. NATO allies, including Sweden, Poland, Finland, and Denmark, are also increasing their support.
We will enhance our efforts, including to defense industrial production in Ukraine, and invest to increase Ukraine's ammunition supplies. We strengthen Ukraine's energy infrastructure to help them through the winter, and we support them on their path to EU and to NATO.
Today I will warn everyone against the illusion that agreeing to Russian conditions of a ceasefire, such as neutral Ukraine, demilitarized, accepting the hitherto annexation of Ukrainian territory would stabilize the situation in the whole region and prevent us from the threat of World War III. Quite the opposite. Our capitulation or lack of support for Ukraine, this is the obvious way to deepen the crisis and threat and risk for all of us.
Biden has warned against agreeing to Russian demands for a ceasefire, claiming that any concessions would only deepen the crisis and increase the risk of global instability. Trump's return raises questions about how he will handle the war and whether his special envoy will succeed in negotiations. With the future of U.S. support for Ukraine still uncertain, only time will tell how this complex situation unfolds. Russia and North Korea are taking their military ties to the next level. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov, during his visit to Pyongyang today, said cooperation between the two countries is growing rapidly. And this comes as the U.S. accuses North Korea of sending thousands of troops to Russia's Kursk region, where Russian forces are locked in battles with Ukrainian troops. And so far, Moscow hasn't confirmed or denied the claim. Belousov met with North Korean Defense Minister No Kwang-chol and highlighted the significance of a treaty of the two nations signed earlier this year. He said the agreement aims to lower the risk of conflict in Northeast Asia and ensure a balance of power in the region. The talks are expected to tighten the already growing military ties between Moscow and Pyongyang. According to Russian media, Belousov will also hold discussions with North Korea's top military and political leaders during this trip.
Итоги исторической встречи президента Российской Федерации Владимира Владимировича Путина и председателя государственных дел КНДР Ким Чен Ына в Пхеньяне в июне этого года продемонстрировали высочайший уровень взаимного доверия.
Meanwhile, Chinese and Russian air forces conducted their 9th strategic air patrol over the Sea of Japan on Friday, marking the latest demonstrations of growing military cooperation between the two powers. The mission, part of an annual program established in 2019, saw 11 military aircraft enter South Korea's Air Defense Identification Zone. Seoul responded by scrambling fighter jets as the foreign aircraft remained in the zone for 4 hours before departing without incident. While Chinese state broadcaster CCTV described the patrol as a routine test of joint training and operational capabilities, it follows a more provocative July operation. In that earlier mission, Chinese and Russian nuclear-capable bombers flew near Alaska, forcing the U.S. and Canada to deploy interceptor aircraft. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke highly of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, calling him an experienced and intelligent politician. However, he expressed concerns about Trump's safety, referencing the assassination attempts on his life.
Well, probably just like me, you are amazed, not by the fact that absolutely uncivilized means had been used against Trump, all the way up to assassination attempts, numerous assassination attempts. And I think he's not safe even now. The history of the United States has known many cases, but I think President Trump is a smart person and a cautious one, I hope. But what amazed me most, that in fighting him, not only Trump was subjected to humiliating court procedures, accusations and so on, but his family was attacked as well. His children was attacked. Gangsters don't do this in Russia. When criminal gangs fight, they don't touch children and women. It's men who fight among themselves. But those guys stooped as low as that. I think this is this looks so bad that it only reconfirms how low the political system of the United States has fallen.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. Germany's industrial crown jewel is losing its luster. The nation's legendary auto sector, home to Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, faces an unprecedented crisis as global competition and the electric revolution reshape the industry. Take a look. The shockwaves begin at Volkswagen, where a dramatic restructuring threatens thousands of jobs and 3 factory closures. Workers are fighting back. Unions plan December strikes as the battle for job security intensifies.
Die Pläne des Unternehmens, Standortschließungen vornehmen zu wollen und auch harte Einschnitte im Einkommen durchzuführen, stoßen natürlich in der Belegschaft auf Widerstand, aber vor allem stoßen sie natürlich auf große Sorge und auch Ängste.
The crisis extends beyond Volkswagen. Auto parts giant Bosch announced 10,000 job cuts and reduced hours for remaining workers. Meanwhile, Germany auto exports tell a sobering story. 3.11 million cars shipped in 2023, still below pre-pandemic levels. In the crucial electric vehicle market, German automakers face a stark reality. Not a single German-made car ranks among the world's top 10 best-selling EVs. Tesla and China's BYD dominate the future of mobility. Adding to Volkswagen's struggles, the company recently sold its Xinjiang plant amid human rights concerns, though it cites economic factors for the exit. Germany's industrial future hangs in the balance as the world embraces cleaner energy and new technologies. For a nation that built its prosperity on automotive excellence, the road ahead demands nothing less than reinvention. And don't miss a celestial spectacle this Saturday night as the half moon and Saturn meet in the night sky. On December 7th, you can spot the ring planet appearing close to the moon. No telescope needed. In some regions, the moon will even pass directly in front of Saturn in what astronomers call a lunar occultation. The view will vary slightly depending on your location, but the pair will be visible in the evening sky. For the best viewing experience, grab a pair of binoculars to explore the moon's surface features. Oceania, which includes Australia, New Zealand, and numerous Pacific Island nations, has been the site of various successful outreach initiatives that have made a positive impact on local communities. Richie Ferreira reports.
From Australia to New Zealand to the Pacific Islands, the Care for Humanity events held in this part of the world have been vast in scope, from medical missions to monetary donations to nonprofit organizations and outreach to people in populated and rural areas. The Church of Christ has extended help and care to all of them. The archipelagic country of Vanuatu, made up of roughly 80 islands, many of volcanic origin, is filled with coral reefs, other natural sites, and rich Melanesian culture. Many live off of the land's resources, yet with very little income, living in poverty, in the midst of the rising costs of goods. But over the years, the Church of Christ has continued its mission of outreach events, providing residents with much-needed food and medical missions. And today, once again, outreach was conducted to residents here in Port Vila, the capital and largest city in Vanuatu. Members from the District of New South Wales, Australia, prepared over 1,000 care packages filled with food and personal care items, and these didn't go out just to residents in need in Port Vila, but also in areas like Tana Island and Espiritu Santo. And from the islands of Vanuatu, we head west in Oceania to the country of Australia. And while bushfires and other calamities like floods and storms continue to pose as ongoing threats in Australia, the Church of Christ recognizes this reality and the need for organizations that help during those times.
On behalf of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ, we would like to thank the Victoria State Emergency Services for giving us the opportunity, for giving the Church of Christ the chance to share in fulfilling your mission in your organization.
Today, in the city of Melbourne, the Church of Christ extended care once again, a $10,000 monetary donation to the Victoria State Emergency Service, or VICSES, the volunteer-based organization which aims to provide assistance during calamities and recovery.
What we're able to do in helping people in their worst moments will go a very, very long way. We're partly funded by the state government, but a majority of our funding actually comes from donations like this. It's incredibly humbling to be part of a very, very small part of what is a worldwide initiative. It's an amazing thing to be part of.
The Church of Christ also extended care to those from different walks of life, including in Queensland, Australia, where care packages were prepared and given to international students in Marsden State School. While international students face daily challenges, including being far from their families, they felt the welcoming care of the Church of Christ members during this event. And from the country of Australia, we head east to the country island of New Zealand in the southwestern Pacific. While residents here continue to face financial difficulties and unemployment due to the ongoing recession, they were able to receive some much-needed assistance, receiving care packages filled with non-perishable and ready-to-eat goods. From Auckland,
the left-hand side.
To Hamilton, Bay of Plenty, Wellington, and Palmerston. Residents were all able to feel the love and care from the Church of Christ.
It's very hard because the rates are going high. This is very grateful and helpful work. Thank you for all the church members for helping us.
And to the neighboring area of New Zealand South, a similar series of events were also held, from Queenstown to Cromwell to Invercargill and Christchurch. Care packages filled with food and daily essentials were given to guests and residents in need, and were greeted with a warm welcome from the Church of Christ. The Care for Humanity events held for communities in need in this part of the world have left a lasting impression on the hearts and minds of many.
For the Mata ng Agila team, this is Alma Angeles reminding you that kindness knows no boundaries. Thank you for keeping me company tonight. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good night.